This is Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Yomi, Aleph. All the learning for this month. The month of Elul has been generously sponsored as an incredible schos. Aliyas Neshama for Asrezel Basar Meir B'Siyata Dishmaya. As we learn the incredible Gemaras of Kibbud Avayim, which should bring the ultimate Kibbud Avayim as an Aliyas Neshama for Asrezel Basar Meir B'Siyata Dishmaya. We're up to 3 lines. The second white line of Lamid Amid Beis. Says the Gemara, Kol mitzvah av ala ben. Asks the Gemara, my kol mitzvah av ala ben. What does it mean? All the mitzvahs of the father on the son. If it's all the mitzvahs that the father is obligated to towards the son, our woman chayav Tanya, we learned in a brayso av chayav b'minay l'mol l'v ta'isay. Avivin imalai, that these obligations are purely on the father and not on the mother. Amar Rav Yehuda achi kamar. This is what the Mishnah means. Kol mitzvah hamuteles ala ben la'asois la'aviv. It's the other way. It's the mitzvahs that the son is obligated to do to the father. Then men and women are both obligated to these mitzvahs towards the father. Explains the Gemara, Tanina la'ala Taner Rabbanan, we have a raya. Ish, ainli ella ish, only means a man. Isha minayin. How do we know that a woman also has an obligation to honor the parents? Because Omer tira'u, harei kan nishnayim ish avav yimai tira'u. You have to fear the father and the mother. We see it refers to men and women. Imke matam l'mer ish. Why say ish? Ish sibek biyada la'asais. Isha ein sibek biyada la'asais. A man has more of a potential, more of a the ability to honor the father, to honor the parents. Why does a man have more of an ability? Says the Gemara, because a woman has the rishus of others. A woman has to honor her husband. So because she has to honor her husband, that would preclude the honoring of her parents, and therefore it's easier and it's more of a potential for a man to honor his parents. Amar Avidi Baravin Amar Rav Nizgar Sham. If a woman gets divorced, she's no longer married, then Shneim Shavin, both boy and girl, both men and women have the same obligation to honor the parent. Taner Rabbanan, says the Gemara in Emor Kabir Zavicha V'Asimecha. It says to honor your father and your mother. 6 lines to the bottom of Lamed Amud Beis in Emor Kabir Hashem Elohecha, honor Hashem from your wealth. Explains the Gemara Shakasli Kibbud Avayim LeKibbud Makayim. The pasuk equates honoring your father and your mother to honoring Hashem. Nemar ish imay va'aviv tira'u v'nemar Hashem l'kecha tira'u v'isay ta'avoid ish ha'gazim meres av l'mayras makam. So first we have an equation of the kavod, of the honoring of a parent to honoring Hashem. Now we have the equation of the mayra, of the fear of a parent to the fear of God. Nemar mekal aviv imay mois yumas v'nemar ish ki kalal alikav v'nasa chatai. And now Isha goes a birkas av ve'im, the birkas amakin. Of course, over here it doesn't mean birkas, doesn't mean blessed. This is euphemistic. It means to curse Rahman al-Islam. That cursing a parent is the same as cursing Hashem. Aval. However, behakal, when it comes to physical hitting, vadai, after we cannot equate the two of them, because very simply, there's no way to hit, as Rashi over here speaks out. There's no way hakal klape maila. There's no way that one is hitting Hashem. V'chein b'din, says the Gemara, and the same thing is shlashtan shutfim bay, that the 3 of them, father, mother, and Hashem, are shutfim. Tan Rabbanan shleisha shutfim adam, as we see in this brayso, 3 partners in a person. HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'aviv v'imay. And from here says the Gemara, Bizman she'adam mechaberes aviv es imay, when one honors his father and mother. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says Hashem anan li'leim kilu tarti b'neihem. And when you honor your parents, it's as if Hashem is living amongst you and you're honoring Hashem as well. B'chabduni, and they're honoring me, says Hashem. Tanya, on the last line of Lamed Amud Beis, says the Gemara, Rebbe Omer, Gali v'yadul of Misha Amar v'haya olam, it's revealed in front of you, Hashem. Sheben mechaberes ima yoser me'aviv, that a son honors his mother more than his father. Why? Mipnei, because as we turn over to Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph Shem Mishadel Asai Bidvarim, because the nature of the mother is that she is mishtadel, she says nice words to the child. She wins him over with her words, as Rashi on the top of Lamed Aleph speaks out. What does that mean? That she is mifata oisai. She seduces him. Doesn't mean seduce, of course. Means she wins him over with the nice, sweet talk of a mother. Lefikach, therefore, says the Gemara, because it's more common to honor the mother more than the father. Therefore, says the Gemara on the top of Lamed Aleph, Hektem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem put first Kibbut Av liKibbut Eim. First comes Kibbut Av. Why? Because Kibbut Eim, honoring the mother, is going to be a bit more natural. Continues the Gemara, Galav Yadil of Neisha Amar V'Ayu Eilam is revealed in front of you, Hashem. Sha'aben misyare me aviv yiser me imai. That a child, a son, fears the father more than the mother. Why? So the Gemara says, you know why? We would think why? Because he's the father. Says Gemara, no, that's not why. You know why? The father teaches him Torah, so he's more of a fear for his father. Lefikach, therefore, Hektem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Meira Eim LeMeira Av. Tana Gamei Rav Nachman, 6 lines down. This is the flip side of what we saw on the bottom of Lamed Amud Beis. On the bottom, we saw that when one honors, when it's mechabed his father and mother, it's as if he honors Hashem. And now says the Gemara, if one is mitzayer Rachmana litzlan, he causes pain to his father and mother. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Hashem Yafa Asisi, it's good. Shaloi darti b'neim Rachmana litzlan. Hashem removes himself from dwelling in such a family. Shalmali darti b'neim, says Hashem, because if I was there, Seruni, I would be caused pain from the fact that the person is not honoring his parents. Amar Rav Yitzchak kol ha'oived aveira b'aseiser. And I will just point out that, of course, often when one is not honoring a parent, it comes from a place of pain, comes from a place of difficulty, and it should be dealt with that way. Anyone that commits a crime is Iver Navira in privacy. Hashem's there. So if you're doing a crime when Hashem is there, you're pushing away the legs of the Shechina. Person cannot walk 4 amos within an upright, erect position. Why? Hashem fills up the whole world, and when you're walking in that haughty manner, you're kaviyachol, you're pushing away the Shechina. Ravuna Breder Rav Yeshua loy maski arba amos begiler roish. You will not walk 4 amos without your head covering, and of course we know that is the halacha that one should not walk dalet amos without his head covered. Amar. He said, you know why? Because the Shechina is above my head. And we know that's where the term Yar Mulka comes from. Yari Malka, the fear of heaven. Shaal ben Almana Achas, so the son of an Almana being a person without a husband. So the son of such an Almana asked Esther Eliezer, an interesting question for a ben Almana, for the son of a Almana. Abba Amar Ashkini Mayim, my father says, give me a drink. Ve'ima Imaris, my mother says, Ashkini Mayim, Ezem Kaidim, which one comes first? Amar Le, Hanach Kabebi, Mechav Asik Vadavicha, leave your mother and honor your father. Why? And this is a very important klal. Sha'ata ve'imcha chayavim b'chod avicha, you and your mother have an obligation to honor the father, because every wife has an obligation to honor her husband. And therefore, you should honor the father first. Rav Yeshua Amar Lai, Kach Amar Loi Rabbi Niskar Sham Ma'u. What happens if this person says if his parents get divorced? Amar Lei Mi Bein Risei Necha Nikar, from between your eyes he was able to tell Sheben Almana Ata Hatalemayim, leave the water Vesafel Vekakilim Tarnigolim and cool like chickens. Basically he realized that the question that he's asking wasn't a real life question due to the fact that he did not have a father. Darash Ula Rabba Pischa Devin Isiya. Ula Rabba Darshan at the entrance to the Vein Nasi Maidich Sev. What is the meaning of the passage that says Yiduch Hashem Kol Malchei Eretz? Kishamu Imrei Ficha, that Hashem is known to all the kingdoms of the world when they hear the statements of your mouth. Explains the Gemara, Ma'amar Picha Lo Nemer, doesn't say the Maimer, the singular statement. Rather, Imrei Picha, the statements. And the Gemara explains, when Hashem said, I, Anoich, the first of the Sarasidiras, I'm Hashem your God. You should have any other gods. What did the Umay Sa'ilam say? They said Hashem is doing this for his own honor. Hashem is doing this just so that the Klal Yisrael honors him. But then what happened? When Hashem continued, as and said to honor your father and mother. Chazva adu l'mamar, so Yishaynes, they admitted even to the first dinim, because they realized obviously Hashem is not doing it for himself. Rava Amar Me'acha Reish Tavarcha Emes. Beginning of your words are truth. Reish Tavarcha V'lei Seif Tavarcha. What does that mean? Only the beginning of your words. Elo Misaif Tavarcha, from the end of your words. Once Hashem said, Kabri V'chavasi Mecha Nikar Shereish Tavarcha Emes. That's how we can tell that even the beginning of the words are true. Ba'i Minei Miravula. They asked from Rav, Ba'i Minei Miravula. Ad Heichan Kibbut Aveim. How far does Kibbut Aveim go? Amar Lei, so go Ru and see Ma'asa Akum Echad, a famous story. Go and see what one guy did by Ashkelon, V'Dama ben Esina Shema. The famous Dama ben Esina, what happened Malachas one time, Bikshu Chachamim Pragmatia, B'Shishim Riboy Schar. The Chachamim wanted to do business with this guy, and he was going to make 60,000. Vayam Aftei Munach Tachas Mir Shesef Shel Aviv, and the key was under the head of his father. He didn't pay and he didn't wake up his father. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, similar Shalas Rav Lezer Areicha Lekibud Aveim. Amar Lahem Siru Ma'asa Akom Echad LaAviv Ashkelon. Go see what one person did to his father. V'Dam ben Esina Shemayim. We get a little more details. Bikish Memenu Chacham Avanim LeEphod. They wanted it. He had certain stones. They wanted those stones for the ephod itself. V'Shishim Riboy Yisar for 60,000 reward. V'Rav Kahana Masti B'Shmayim Riboy. It was 80,000. But the key was under the head of his father, and he didn't wake him up. And what was the reward that this guy got? The next year, he gave birth to Bar Aduma. The Chacham entered in the first very wide line of Lamed Aleph Amid Aleph. Yisrael, Atzlai, Amar Lam Yadu Ani Bachem, Shema Ani Mavakishachem, Kol Ma'amayim Shabayim Ata Naisimli. He said, Dam ben Esina said, I could ask you for anything and you're going to give it to me, of course, for the Parah Aduma. But Ella, you know what I'm going to ask for? Ella, I only want that money that I lost, B'shul Kavod Abba, for the honor of my father. If a guy who does not have the commandment of get such a reward, mitzvah Alachas kama v'kama, us who are commanded to honor our parents, how much more reward we will get. Mimi she'enai mitzvah v'aisa. Now, just parenthetically, it's running a little late, but one very important detail. Everyone knows the story of Dam ben Esina, but the question is, why didn't he wake up his father? Which father would now want to be woken up for $1 million deal? So the Gemara is saying, oh, he's such a good guy, he didn't wake up his father. What do you mean? His father would have wanted to wake it up. And la halacha, if a father wants you to wake him up, you're allowed to wake him up. Aruch HaShulchan says maybe there's a mile not. But Ramesha Feinstein in Drash, Ramesha explains, as we'll see in a moment, says Ramesha Feinstein that Dam ben Esina's father, Nesina, was crazy. And he wouldn't have wanted to be woken up, and that's why he didn't. But that's why it's a mila, because even though he was crazy, and he still didn't wake him up. But it only makes sense if he was crazy, because if not, of course, you should wake him up. And we're going to see in a moment, the Gemara is going to tell us how Dam ben Esina's mother was crazy. Says Ramesha Feinstein, Motza Minas Minai, mother was crazy, his father was crazy. That's why he didn't wake him up. But of course, if someone knows that his father would want to be woken up for the $1 million deal, one would be allowed to do that. Amar Rav Yosef continues the Gemara, Man, Rav Yosef was blind, and he said, originally I thought that anyone who would tell me, if you tell me I'm pater from all the mitzvahs, said Rav Yosef, I'll make you a yantif. Why will I make you yantif? Not because I'm not going to do the mitzvahs, because I'm not commanded, but I'm doing all the mitzvahs. And he thought that I would get more schar. But now that we just said that it's greater if you're commanded and you do it. Why is it greater? It's greater because then you have the Yitzharas, the Pashib Shat. So now it says Rav Yosef Adarab Amanda Amar Li Eina Lachak Rav Yehuda Aveni Amatem the Rabbanan Kasa Rav Dimi Amar Pamachas Hayu Lover Sirkin Shalzaf. And Rashi says this is Dam ben Esina again. He's wearing a golden coat. He's sitting amongst the great elders of Rome. Ubal Sa'ima and his mother came, and she ripped his clothing, she hit him on the head, and she spits in front of him. And Dam ben Esina did not embarrass his mother. And this is Ramesha Feinstein's raya. We see his mother was quite a crazy woman. Says Ramesha, his father was the saint. Tanav even made Rav Yavuah on the last line. If there's one who could feed his father, Pisyuni, a very gishmaka dish, Rashi says it's a type of bird, it was a slav, and he'll be destroyed. But and there are others that can make the father work and the millstone, and as we turn over to Lamed Aleph, Amid Beis, and he can bring to Chayil Mabah. So how could that be? So Rashi explains it's all in how it was done. If one has to make his father work, but he talks nicely to his father, as the top Rashi says, then he could come to Eilam Haba. On the other hand, you could prepare your father the greatest dish, you could buy him the greatest car. But if you throw it in his face, then you're going not to Eilam Haba. Amar Rav Avuas continues the Gemara. Kigon avimi bri kayim mitzvahs kibod bechamesh abanai samchei havalei. That my son had 5 incredible children that they had. Smichol avimi b'chay aviv. And yet, Chasa Rav Avua, Kari Avua, Rat, Va'azlu, Paschalei, V'amr, in, Adam, Amatay, Asam. And whenever his father would come, he would say, wait, I'm coming. And he would go and open the door himself. The incredible honor he gave to his father. One day, Amar Le, Ashkaya Maya, he said to give him a cup of water. Ad Asi Le, as he brought his father a cup of water, you know what happened? Nimnam, his father dozed off. So what did he do? He didn't walk away. He stood there waiting on top of him till his father woke up. And he got siyat d'shmei v'darash avimi mizmar lasaf. Avimi, due to the incredible mitzvah that he did, he stood by his father waiting for him to wake up. He got the incredible schos of darshaning the pasuk of mizmar la'asaf. Amar alei Rav Yaakov Ravua la'abai kigona no, like I myself, the Ada is to be Rav. What should I do? I come home, my father's pouring me a cup, my mother's giving me a cup, who do I take it from? So he answered, do not accept it from your father, only from your mother. Why? Your father's going to feel bad. You're a Talmid Chacham and he's serving you, so don't take that which your father is doing, rather only take from your mother. Rav Tarfon had a mother, whenever she wanted to go into bed, Gachin, or Rav Tarfon himself would bend over, his mother would step on his back and get into bed. Whenever she had to get out of bed, she would step down onto Rav Tarfon. So Rav Tarfon was one day in Beis Medrash and he was saying how he excels in this mitzvah of kibbud avayim, and Amruleh, they said to Rav Tarfon, Adayin, lo yigata lachatzi kibbud. You didn't come into half of the obligation of kibbud avayim. Klum zarka anikipa v'nechel yam. Was your wallet thrown into the ocean by your parent? And you didn't embarrass them. That's the level of kibbud avayim. Rav Yosef kavishama kol karei di'imei. When he would hear the footsteps of his mother, you hear his mother coming. Amar, he would say, Eikum, let me get up. Makmei shchina da'aseh. He would say, I have to get up for the shchina that's coming with my mother, and he would go and he would greet his mother at the door. Amar Rav Yechanan explains to Rav Yechanan, Ashrei mi shalei chaman. Praiseworthy is one that doesn't have parents due to the incredible obligation of kibbud avayim. Rav Yechanan ki avarta ibrasei, when he was born, imay meis, his mother died. Ki avarta imay, when his mother became pregnant with him, imay avi, Meis of his father died. Yaldasa, when his mother gave birth to him, Mesa Ima, his mother died. V'chen Abaya, similarly Abaya. Says more, wait, Abaya had no parents. Amy, is that true of Amar? Abaya Amar Li'im? We find out all over Shas that Abaya is quoting his mother. Answers the Gemara, Hu Mar Binta Havai, that was his nurse who took care of him. That's who Abaya is often found to be quoting Havai. Ravasi, Havale Ahi Ima, Zakena, Ravasi, an elderly mother, Amar Le, B'ina Tachshitin. She said, I need jewelry. Avallah, he made for her. Bina Gavre, she said, I need a husband. Ina Lacha. He tried to find one for her. Bina Gavre, the Shabar Kavaseich, and then his mother said, I need a husband, as beautiful as you. At that point, Shavka, Fazal Eretz Yisrael. So Ravasi felt it was too much. His mother was crazy. And he went to Eretz Yisrael. And as he's finally in Eretz Yisrael, he's away from his mother. And then what happened? Shama the Ka'azlav Asrei. He hears his mother's coming after him. So Aslik made Rav Yechanan. He comes to Rav Yechanan. He says to Rav Yechanan, Amar Lei, Ma'u Latzitz me Eretz L'chosartz. Am I allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael? We know you're not supposed to leave Eretz Yisrael, but he asked, am I allowed to leave to greet my mother? Amar Lei, Aser. Likras Ima Ma'u. What if I'm leaving in order to greet my mother? Amar Lei, Any Yodea, that I don't know. And what happened? Israch Porta, Hader Ase Amar Lei, Isi Nirtzas, Latzeis Amaka, Mechzir Chal Shalom. Finally, he said, Finally, he gave him a bracha that you should go in peace. Maybe I got Rav Yochanan angry by asking him such a shayla. He felt bad. On the last hour line, what did Rav Yochanan respond? He responded, he said that Hashem should accompany you in peace. Amar le ve'im Isav, who's upset at you, derasach la ve'mivrach lach, he wouldn't have given you a bracha. Clearly, Rav Yochanan is not upset with you. Okay, so he felt a little better. Rav Yochanan was not upset. Adachi va'achi. What happened? Shamal Aron in the Kasa, he hears that his mother was nifter and her Aron is coming. Amar, if I would have known that my mother was going to be nifter, lo nafki, I would never have left Eretz Yisrael to greet just the Aron. Taner Rabbanan mechabdei b'chayav u'mechabdei b'moisei. One can honor his father in his life and after death. B'chayav keitzad hanishma b'davar arvev l'makayim le'amar shalchani b'shal asmi. If you know that they're going to be listened because of your father, don't say listen for my own sake. Maharuni b'shal atzmi, or give it for my sake. Pitroni b'shal atzmi. Ella, if you know that they're going to give it to you for your father, alakulu b'shal abba, you should say and let them give it to you in your father's sake. B'maisei case that how can one honor a parent in the parent's death? When he says something over in the name of the father, you always say the father with the appropriate title, and that's how you give the parent kavod in their death. Harini kaparas mishchava, and you say that the Torah that you're saying over should be a kapara for their soul. V'hani immediately says the Gemara, within the 12 months of their patira. Afterwards you say, we remember their merit for Olam Haba. Tanu Rabbanan, one more quick line. Chacham Mishana Shem Av V'Shem Rabbi. A Talmid Chacham, when he's teaching and he has to tell them a Turgaman, who is the translator, who wouldn't scream out what the Talmid Chacham is saying, you shouldn't tell him in the name of his father. You don't say your father's name. Rather, you say, my father, Aviv, or my Rabbi Avi Meiri. Turgaman ain't a Mishana L'Shem Aviv L'Shem Rabbi. But the Turgaman, when he says it over, he just says it over in the father's name. Avua Deman. It says, whose father? Ilim Avua Demeturgaman. If it's the Meturgaman's father, Otto Turgaman Lavar Chiyuvu. What's going on over here? The Turgaman himself has a Chiyuv. So how can he say it over in the name of the Meturgaman? Ella Amai Ravan. With this we conclude. Shem Aviv Shal Chacham, Shem Rabbi Shal Chacham. Ki Adam Varashi, Ki Avidarish Birka. Iu Amar. He would tell the Meturgaman Abba Mari. V'amura Amar Achi Amar Ravashi. You say this is what Ravashi says. Pick it up from the two dots in the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.